Mark Smelly Bell here. Gonna explain some low-fat dieting to you guys. I've been messing with some different diets, as you guys know, the sugar diet being one of them. I've moved off of some of the initial rules of like the sugar fast and sugar dieting. You know, in the beginning, it was mainly just, fruit juice, honey, maple syrup, a little bit of sugar, a little bit of candy here and there, making some smoothies and so forth. And it was real strict, and there was no starch and all these other things. I got rid of some of those other rules about like no starch and stuff like that. At the moment, I still am experimenting with just real modest amounts of protein. About 100 grams a day is what I'm kind of experimenting with. And then every 5 to 7 days or so, I'm adding protein back in. And we'll see what kind of results I get from that, and I'll continue to report back and give you guys more info as I collect it. But so far it feels really good. Like on a day-to-day basis, I feel like I'm getting a little bit leaner, which is awesome. I weighed 210 yesterday, 211 this morning, and my body weight staying under 215 is really, really nice. Face feels like it's thinning out a little bit. Nothing feels difficult or hard to do. I'm eating a lot of rice cakes. I still have refined sugars in there. Like I still have, some jellies and jams, and I have some fruit that's submerged in like fruit juice and stuff like that. I have a bunch of different things that are still like that. I still eat a little bit of candy. But what I wanted to share with you today is this idea that if 5% of your diet, if 5% of your diet comes from dietary fat, then you're going to get yourself really, really incredibly lean. 5 or 10%, and even about 15%, if you could figure out a way, because 5% is like, you got to go way out of your way. And if you can do 5% dietary fat for 4 days in a row, 5 days in a row for a week, then that's very diligent. It's very difficult to do for a bunch of different reasons. Mainly, one of the big reasons is that whenever you consume protein, it's normally accompanied by fat, unless you go with boneless, skinless chicken breast, and you go with 99% lean ground turkey, or you have access to very high quality grass-fed, grass-finished beef in the form of Piedmontese, because those cattle they're different and they're super lean, and thus they have very, very lean types of meat. Even some pork can be really lean, some ham can be very lean, but to eat really lean all the time can be really difficult. You got white fish as an option. Even pink salmon actually is pretty lean, so that might be something you guys want to look into, because then you get the omega-3s as well. Getting those nutrients and getting that nutrition in there is really important. And you have scallops, which are my favorite. I also love shrimp. Those are all very lean choices. Then unfortunately, some of the fattier fish like mackerel or some regular types of salmon, those end up having a lot more fat in them. But I still think those are good to throw in on occasion. And I think even a little bit of fattier meats and stuff like that is not a bad idea here and there. But one of the reasons why it's not promoted that way is because it's so easy to get so much dietary fat in anyway, because it's like in everything. And I think that, as we've been looking at what is causing obesity, like I have absolutely no question in my head anymore on what causes obesity. There's multiple culprits here. Is it fat? Is it carbs? Well, it's both, right? Is it the fact we're not sleeping? Is it the technology? It's all of it, right? All of it is a factor. But if I had to pinpoint it down to one thing, and if I could take one thing away, if I could take 60 grams or 80 grams of fat away from people every single day for the last 5 years, well, they would not be nearly as heavy as they are right now. And you could say, well, if you did the same thing with carbs, as long as it was equal calories, maybe, and okay, a decent point. However, when you are eating protein and carbohydrates in combination, and when you're doing it in the absence of fat, you are actually revving your metabolism up. This is something that you could try. You can just even try it for a week. See if I'm full of shit. Go ahead and eat 5,000 calories. Eat 5,000 calories for a week. And see if I'm full of shit. But have those 5,000 calories only have 5 to maybe 10% dietary fat. The likelihood that you might gain like 2 pounds in 2 days, or 3 pounds in 2 days, or something like that, just because of the bolus of food. But it's going to flatten right back out, and you're not going to be able to really hold on to that weight. You could try it out for yourself. You know what's going to happen if you were to do that for longer. If you did it for 10 days and 14 days, eventually your metabolism would catch up to it. And you could gain some weight. Technically, you could gain a little bit of weight, but it would be a little bit of weight. It wouldn't be a lot. And your metabolism, I'm telling you, your metabolism would catch up to it. Even a busted ass metabolism would catch up to it. If you ate, how many cups of rice? Let's say you had like 6 or 8 cups of rice in a day, and you had I don't know, the equivalent of like 6 chicken breasts or something in a day, and maybe a whey protein shake, and maybe a non-fat yogurt, right? Just try to hammer, and you can't really, it's hard to do it. That's the other thing. It's hard to have your calories be high. But I'm in shock that we don't understand this idea that the fat is the biggest part of what's making us fat. Again, I understand that it's overeating, and I know that you understand that it's overeating. But the message of overeating is just not working. It doesn't do anything. Okay, we're overeating. And then people just, they take the GLP-1s and 2s and 3s and so on, and they go about their life, and they start to be able to lower their amount of food that they consume, and they can lose some weight that way. And that is, there are strategies like that. There's strategies where you count your calories and you bring your calories much lower. Those are all things that can work. But again, what I've always hated about calories is you're just bringing your metabolism down too. Like, there ain't no reason to do that. There literally is not a reason to do that, especially when you go low fat. You got the carbs assisting with bringing your metabolism up. In my opinion, you can eat 600 to 800 calories more. In my opinion, you can eat 600 to 800 calories more. You could maybe make a case for keto too, that when you're doing a ketogenic diet and you're converting over into ketones, that potentially there might be more room for another 300 calories or something like that in a diet. But it's not the same as with carbs. I think carbs are even greater. And don't forget that fat turns into fat the easiest. So a keto diet can sometimes be a little bit of a roll of the dice. And don't forget that also in real keto, they do utilize trying to keep the proteins a little bit more modest. The protein's not usually 1 gram per pound. It doesn't normally match the fat calories and so forth. The fat grams and fat calories and so on are usually either dead even with the protein or higher, and the protein itself just isn't super high normally on a ketogenic diet, to try to keep you really producing those ketones and to try to prevent any blood glucose spikes even from the protein that you're consuming. But anyway, the carbohydrates and the protein can really make a big difference. And what I'm doing right now is very similar to what I did in the beginning of the sugar diet, where it's some protein restriction throughout the day, and then I'll get my protein in a little bit later this evening. I believe later today and tomorrow are both going to be a little bit more normalized protein-wise, and then like Sunday or Monday I'll get back to my regularly scheduled program. But I am going to bring the protein up later today, all day tomorrow, and maybe just a little bit of Sunday. And we'll just kind of see where we end up with some of that, and then I'll start back over again and do another 5 to 7 days of protein restriction, keeping the carbs in. The foods are potatoes, rice, fruit juice, vegetables. Sour Patch Kids are in there a little bit. There's not a huge occurrence, but sometimes it's before a workout. I have some with me today. I probably really won't. I might eat a couple of them when I hop off of here. I'm about to go into Sane Strength and throw down and have a really great workout. And whenever I work out in that gym, I'm in there for 2 hours, and I'm in there busting my ass. So I probably will have a little candy on the way in. I'll probably have some candy while I'm training. And I also have a Gatorade that I'll be drinking, throwing down some sugar. And that's the other thing that's pretty cool about sugar and sugars is how easily they digest. Now, I know there's been questions about glycation. There's been questions about... We have to keep in mind, all these things are when you're in abundance, right? And I'm not in abundance. I'm continuing to lose weight. So if you're trying to follow the diet and you're trying to take this advice, I'm not a health coach. Usually all that I spit is stuff that I'm doing and stuff that I've done. And I'm not trying to be a health advocate. I've talked before so many times about my PED usage and how, it's not the safest thing. And the sport that I chose, powerlifting, weighted 330 and all these things. I haven't done the healthiest things all the time. I am an advocate for health. I am an advocate for longevity. I do want the best for people. I want the best for myself. But at the same time, I do some things that are dumb sometimes. I do some things that are not in the best interest of my organs. And I'm in recognition of that. And you should be in recognition of that too. And I think it's fair when some people say hey, don't take health advice from this guy. I think you should be really careful on taking health advice from anybody. I'm not trying to necessarily promote health all the time. But what I am doing in having the single digit body fat series and having, starting a subscription based YouTube channel and all these different things that I'm doing is I'm giving you guys the inside track on how to get shredded. I'm giving you the inside track on how I'm doing things and how it's working for a lot of people around me. And that can give you insight as to how you utilize that information. But please never take anything that I say or anything that anyone else says and just take it to the bank and think that you can deposit that check, because you don't know how much that check is worth. It might bounce, right? It might not be worth anything. And that goes for anybody. That's me or Huberman or whoever else you want to. These guys are my friends. These are people I care about. Thomas DeLauer, all these people. They have great information. But take their information the same way that you take my information. Don't just blindly take it to the bank. Think about it more. Stack it up against your current beliefs. I hope that a lot of what I've shared and what I'm sharing, I hope it destroys your old beliefs. I really do. I hope you go to put your old beliefs next to it, and I hope your old beliefs either can't stand up to it, or they stand up to it so strongly that they make you say, I hate Mark. What the hell is he doing? Why is he talking like this? This is making me sick. I don't understand why isn't he talking about low carb? Why is he going this way? Why is he going that? I hope that this upsets you. I hope that this flies in the face of the things that you've heard in the past, because that is my job. I am here to discover and uncover, and I'm here to blow up my own thoughts and blow up my own beliefs. And that's how I kind of have come to these that's how I've come to these resolutions. That's how I found all these different things over the years, is by poking and prodding and saying, is this right? Is that right? For years I did the West Side Barbell Method, but I also ended up doing my own version of a West Side Barbell Method. I had to adapt certain rules and certain beliefs and certain things that I thought would be important to put into the West Side program, and it worked great for me, and it worked great for a lot of people around me. And that's ultimately what you want to try to do with your nutrition. You want to take these bits and pieces. But what I'm sharing with you guys about low-fat dieting is huge, because now you get the opportunity to eat a lot of food. You can shove down rice, potatoes, fruit, all your favorite fruits, fruit juices, and any types of potatoes, any different types of rice. And these are just all awesome opportunities to consume things that don't have any fat in them but have carbohydrates in them, which can help give your body some good energy. It's helping with your energy. It's helping with your energy out, because you're going to be able to eat a little bit more of it. It's also going to help with your energy out, because carbohydrates are good, quick sources of energy. And so when you go to do something, you're going to have a little more pep in your step. When you go to lift, your muscle glycogen is going to be full. Your liver glycogen is going to be full. The glycogen, your blood glycogen is going to be full. So everything that you go to do, you're going to have, plenty of energy to go do it. Not saying if you did low carb that you wouldn't have plenty of energy to do it too, because we see that with low carb, that people still have pretty good glucose levels. In some cases, their glucose levels are even higher of their counterparts that do higher carb, which is really interesting. But you have some advantages, when you start to eat this way. And one of the biggest advantages, you get to eat a lot. You get to eat a lot. Your eating frequency can be high. You don't have to have as many rules. I mean, you could be eating protein and carbohydrates literally all day long, from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed. But we need lean sources of protein if that's going to be the case. And that's where you got your egg whites, your chicken breast, your 99% lean turkey, your shrimp, your scallops, and so on. And that could be an amazing diet, and that's like a bodybuilding style diet. Now, where it differs from a bodybuilding diet, and where you're not going to run into the hormonal issues of a bodybuilder, is you're not trying to reduce your calories. That's where the bodybuilders have struggled, is when they reduce their calories and they do more. They get themselves into like an easily 1,000 calorie a day deficit. And that's when they do get super shredded too. But that's when they end up with hormonal issues and everything else going on, because they're doing cardio, they're lifting, they're posing, and they're doing all these different things. They're doing a lot of meal prep. Like, all these things are very taxing. They're doing all that in combination with a low caloric intake a lot of times. And that's the kiss of death. And a lot of bodybuilders are getting smarter about it. They don't do that anymore. But what bodybuilding coaches and people still don't understand is their dietary fat's still way too high. There's absolutely no reason to have your dietary fat be like through the roof. I cannot see a good reason on why your dietary fat would be like 70 or 60. I could see it being 40 or 50, because percentage wise maybe that's just what's needed. But you start getting over that, and it really kind of doesn't make any sense. And again, I think that these men and women, they're getting in these caloric deficits, and they're getting completely wiped out by these deficits. And then they have to like reset after every competition. A lot of time there's a lot of weight gain that happens again from that, because of just how much of a wet blanket they just threw on their metabolism. You want metabolic primers. You want things that are going to encourage your metabolism and not discourage your metabolism. A great way to discourage your metabolism, in my opinion, is to mix your macros. Have your fats and your carbohydrates together, not necessarily just in one meal, but having a decent amount of fat in a given day with a decent amount of carbohydrates is a way to either put mass on or a way to maintain your size. Otherwise, just cut the fat down as much as you possibly can. How many grams of fat should you have in a day? I would say like that. For me, I think there's a sweet spot of like 30, 40 grams. I don't think I need any more than that, any less than that. I could see doing less than that, a couple days in a row here and there might make some sense. But also, let's not lose sight of this as well. I'll just finish with this, that, slow and steady wins the race. And what diet can you be on where it is slow and steady and consistent? So if you try to go, 5 days in a row and really restrict the fat and like try to have the fat be zero, that might be cool. But if 5 days later you binge, then it didn't work. Anytime that any part of your diet ends with a binge, your diet didn't work. Anytime that you're training, your strength training, your bodybuilding, anytime it ends with you getting injured and taking a couple days off and stuff, it didn't work. You overdid it. You overcooked it. You ruined it. You ruined it. You continued to add salt to it. It didn't need any more salt. It didn't need to sit in the pot any longer. You overcooked it, you grizzled it, and there's nothing you can do about it now. And that's what happens with your training. That's what happens with your food. And you got to be cautious with it. And you got to be conscious of it. And you have to take the shit off the pan much earlier than you think. Take the thing out of the oven a little earlier than you think. And it's going to be perfect. And that's the way you want to stick these landings. You want these landings to be perfect. You don't want anything to be disrupted or overdone. There's no reason to overdo it. There's no reason to over restrict so much that you end up face down in a pint of Ben and Jerry's every handful of days or a couple times a month, or you're eating pizza a couple times. I mean, look, man, it's all baby talk. We shouldn't even be talking about it anymore. But I have to talk to you guys about these cravings because they're ridiculous. And that's the other thing is, like, you need 6 to 7 hours of sleep. Minimum 6 to 7 hours of sleep every night. You need to be hammering your sleep, hammering your sleep, hammering your sleep. Because when you don't hammer your sleep, then you get hammered with poor decision making. And you need to make sure that your decision making is good, because we need awesome and excellent food choices over and over and over and over and over and over again. Time and time again, you need to pick the better food. Your better food needs to be, for some of you, it might need to be prepared. Because if it's not prepared, you're just going to get fast food and pizza. And again, fast food and pizza is baby talk, stage one. It's not even kindergarten, it's preschool. And we need to get you out of that. Because if we can't get you out of that, I can't progress you to learn your ABCs and your 1, 2, 3s. Strength is never a weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.